Welcome to another video of FoodNourish Deep Dives, the videocast of FoodNourish.net, where we explore topics like health, food, supplements, and alternative approaches to health and wellness. Today, we're diving deep into a subject that so many of you have been asking about, using peptides for weight loss during perimenopause. So, if you're in that perimenopause phase and you feel like you're in this constant uphill battle with weight gain, let me just start by saying, you're not imagining things. This isn't about willpower or not trying hard enough. The fundamental rules of how your body manages weight are literally changing, and getting your head around that is, honestly, the most important first step.
All right, let's get into it. For our first act, we're going to try and solve this puzzle. We're going to figure out why. Why did the diet and exercise routine that you swore by in your 30s just stop working? Well, the answer is all tangled up in a pretty complex hormonal shift.
What you're seeing here is basically the perfect storm for weight gain. Okay, first up, as your estrogen declines, your cells get more resistant to insulin. What that means is more of the food you eat gets packed away as visceral fat. You know, that really dangerous fat that wraps around your organs? At the very same time, progesterone drops, which jacks up your stress hormone cortisol. And high cortisol? It tells your body to store even more fat and, get this, it starts to break down your precious muscle. And just to top it all off, your growth hormone levels are tanking, slowing down your metabolism and making it that much harder to hang on to the muscle you have left. You see, it's a battle on multiple fronts.
And this right here is why that old advice to just eat less, move more can totally backfire. When you start drastically cutting calories during this stage of life, your body freaks out. It sees it as a major stress. So what does it do? It pumps out even more cortisol. And as we just saw, that makes insulin resistance and muscle loss even worse. You end up literally fighting against your own biology, making the whole hormonal mess worse, not better.
So if the old tools aren't cutting it anymore, what's the new game plan? Well, that brings us to Act 2. We're going to explore a completely new class of tools that don't just fixate on calories, but instead they take aim at the specific metabolic and hormonal problems of perimenopause. And yeah, we're talking about peptides. So what are peptides really? Let's keep it simple. Think of them like tiny little text messages, short chains of amino acids that act as signaling molecules. They go around giving your cells very specific instructions. For what we're talking about, perimenopause weight loss, we're going to focus on two main types. You've got the GLP-1 agonists, which have gotten famous for crushing appetite and improving insulin sensitivity. And then you have growth hormone peptides, which are more about changing your body composition.
Let's kick things off with the GLP-1s and compare the two heavy hitters, tirzepatide and semaglutide. Now, tirzepatide generally shows slightly more powerful results, hitting a 15 to 21% total weight loss in some trials. The flip side, it can come with more of those pesky GI side effects, like nausea. Semaglutide, on the other hand, is known for being a bit gentler. It's also more widely available, and you can even get it in an oral form. And cost-wise, while neither is exactly cheap, semaglutide usually has a lower price tag to get started.
And this chart, wow, it really puts their power into perspective, doesn't it? In clinical trials, you see folks on a placebo losing about 2.4% of their body weight. Okay, with semaglutide, that number jumps to almost 15%. But then look at tirzepatide. It pushed the average weight loss to nearly 21%. That difference is pretty staggering, and it just goes to show how incredibly effective these little signaling molecules can be. But hey, what if your goal isn't just about what the scale says? What if it's about how you look and feel? This is exactly where that second category of peptides comes into play. Growth hormone peptides, like one called tesamorelin, they're on a totally different mission. They are designed to specifically target that stubborn visceral belly fat and, this is so important, help you hold on to lean muscle while you're losing weight. For protecting your metabolism during perimenopause, that is absolutely key. Now, speaking of smart strategies for your health, finding trusted products you can rely on is a huge piece of the puzzle. That's why I want to give a quick shout out to our deals page. If you go to foodnourish.net/deals, you'll find all the wellness and supplement deals from major brands like Apollo Peptide Sciences, Perpetual Life, iHerb, Source Naturals, Nootropics Depot, Bioptimizers, the list goes on. The link is right there in the description for you. Okay, let's get back to our deep dive.
Okay, so we've talked about the exciting potential, but now we've got to move into Act 3 and have a really honest conversation about the complications. It's time to look past all the hype and talk about the crucial things you absolutely must consider before even thinking about peptide therapy. Everything from some really powerful synergies to the very real risk of rebound weight gain.
35%. Just look at that number. What is that?
Well, it could be a complete game changer. A recent Mayo Clinic study found something pretty incredible. Postmenopausal women who combined a GLP-1 peptide, like tirzepatide, with hormone replacement therapy, HRT, they lost a whopping 35% more weight than the women who were on the peptide by itself. This points to a powerful synergy that you really need to be discussing with your doctor.
But here's where we get a dose of reality. For most people, peptides are not a forever medication. Look at this. A huge majority, 72% of users, stop taking GLP-1s within 2 years. Why? It could be the cost, it could be side effects, maybe they hit their goal weight. But this brings up the most important question of all. What happens when you stop?
And this quote, this is the critical part. When the weight comes back, and it often does, it comes back mostly as fat. Researchers at the RAND Corporation have really highlighted this danger, especially for women in perimenopause. If you don't have a rock-solid plan to maintain the muscle you had, you could easily end up with a higher body fat percentage and a slower metabolism than you did before you even started. This is probably the single biggest risk you need to plan for.
And there are definitely other serious risks to be aware of. The GLP-1s come with a boxed warning for anyone with a personal or family history of a specific type of thyroid cancer. Growth hormone peptides, they're a definite no-go if you have a history of hormone-sensitive cancers. And because you're losing overall mass, you have to monitor your bone density. And finally, where you get these from is everything. The FDA has issued huge warnings about counterfeit products, so working with a licensed, experienced provider is absolutely non-negotiable.
Okay, I know that was a lot of pretty heavy information, but knowledge is power, right? So for our final act, let's take everything we've learned and turn it into a clear, actionable plan. Think of this as your roadmap for having a really productive, informed chat with your healthcare provider.
So here's the game plan. Step 1, get your baseline labs done. You can't possibly know where you're going if you don't know your starting point. Step 2, and this is non-negotiable, build your lifestyle foundation. I'm talking strength training, high protein, quality sleep, managing stress. Step 3, talk to your doctor about that HRT connection we mentioned. Step 4, based on all that, figure out which peptide approach, GLP-1 or growth hormone, actually aligns with your goals. Step 5, find a provider who knows their stuff, someone experienced in both perimenopause and peptides. And finally, step 6, commit to monitoring, adjusting as you go, and most importantly, planning for the long term for what happens after the medication.
So we've seen it. Peptides can be a ridiculously powerful tool to help you hit the reset button on your metabolism during perimenopause. But they are not a magic bullet. That tool is only going to work if you build the right framework around it. Which really brings us to the final question, the one you have to ask yourself. Are you ready to do the work of building that lifestyle foundation, the strength, the nutrition, the sleep that will make these tools effective not just for a few months, but for the rest of your life? And that's a wrap. I really hope this deep dive gave you a clear, evidence-based way to think about peptides. Please go check out the resource article in the video's description for links to all the studies and details we covered. If you found this useful, do us a favor and like the video. It really helps us grow our channel and keep delivering these deep dives on health matters. And of course, make sure you subscribe so you never miss another one. Thanks for watching.